We had Tropical Storm Bertha. Now, what does that mean for the end of September and into October? Wait till you see this. I'm meteorologist Gary Lezak with Weather 2020. This is our tropical update for July the 25th. We'll look ahead for the next 3 risks of hurricanes or tropical systems, and we'll also look at the overall weather pattern in this report. All right, let's take a look, and thank you again for being members at weather2020.substack.com. And you can also like the YouTube channel as well. All right, let's take a look and see what's going on. Let me take this full and show you what's happening. First of all, what Tropical Storm Bertha may tell us about late September. Bertha formed right off the west coast of Florida and meandered around. As you can see, this track made landfall south near the New Orleans area, south of there. Went out over the ocean and made another landfall or two as it had drifted into Texas as a weak tropical system. So I want you to look at this. Look closely. You're looking at the 500 millibar flow on July the 17th, right? July the 17th. Here is the beginning of what's about to become Tropical Storm Bertha as it drifted off the west coast of Florida as a little disturbance, right? And here's the main jet stream way up in Canada. At the end of July and early August, it reaches its farthest north position and weakest strength. But look at this feature right here. We're going to track that. Watch this. There it is on July 18th. Remember, we're looking right down here. July 19th, July 20th, July 21st, July 22nd, and July 23rd. All right? At the surface, there is the tropical storm developing on July the 20th. All right? There it goes to just east of New Orleans, south of Mobile, Alabama, and down there near Biloxi, Mississippi. And then it moves west to western Louisiana and moved into Texas. So that is what happened with the track of this system. Now I want you to look at this again. I want you to look at this, all right? Especially this part right here. Notice the track right through here, okay? So we now have a system in the LRC that tracked in that area. So what we do, the weather pattern is cycling. And so we know it's about a 10 to 11 week cycle. So let's fast forward 10 to 11 weeks, all right? And let's see what's going to happen next, okay? So here we go. Let's take a look at this as we can start here. And again, there it is, tracking to the west. So Bertha took this track. Now the red shade shows the zone where a stronger named storm is forecast for late September into early October. So when this part of the LRC cycles back through late September, early October, there's likely going to be a named storm as strong or stronger. And we got to watch this very closely. It could go just south of the zone, but this is our forecast right now. Now, the new LRC sets up. If it waits till October 7th or later, it probably won't form at all. But there's a 65% probability of one forming. Not only that, another risk we have for mid to late August and early September, this is the Melissa part of the pattern. Remember her major hurricane Melissa that hit Jamaica? There's Jamaica circled right there. Well, this part of the pattern is going to cycle back through next month, mid to late August, into early September, and there likely will be a tropical storm or hurricane taking one of these possible tracks, but forming in this zone. That's what we can promise you with a 65% probability. And another one, they'll be forming possibly over the Atlantic and drifting into the islands area, could threaten Florida and the southeast United States. So this is for late August into mid-September. So you have 3 systems that we're predicting and a 65% chance of each one, which means 2 out of the 3 are likely going to happen. 2 out of the 3 are likely going to happen. All right, let's look at the names here. And you can see again, as I put this right here. There we go. Here are the names so far this season. We've had Arthur and Bertha. The next one will be Cristobal. We're only expecting and forecasting 8 to 12 storms. So Hannah would be the 8th. Kyle would be the 12th. And we're not expecting ever to get to Leah or Marco. So we'll see how that happens. There's our prediction. 8 to 12 named storms, 4 to 7 hurricanes, 2 to 3 major hurricanes, and a below average ACE. These are the averages over here. And you're looking at the forecast from the most accurate hurricane forecast team. And we competed against all these other companies. So you can see here. And this year, our forecast as of the end of April, when everyone was issuing the forecast early, you can see we were one of the lowest amounts with 8 to 12 named storms. So the others are a little bit higher. Now, they've all come down on their predictions. So what's happening this week in the weather? It's called the anticyclone. The anticyclone, it's the opposite of a storm system, which is a cyclone, and you have counterclockwise flow around a storm and clockwise flow around an anti-storm or anticyclone, and it creates heat waves. Look at this forecast. This is valid for Monday coming up here, July 27th. A substantial anticyclone is growing right now, and it's going to produce some heat. Also, we have what by Monday may become a hurricane and intensifying into a major hurricane, Genevieve, and we have Tropical Storm Fausto tracking towards Hawaii, weakening as that heads off to the west. There's the main jet stream up there. So the United States is being dominated by this anticyclone. Now, watch what happens in our temperature forecast. This is the forecast for Monday. Very hot from St. Louis to eastern New Mexico and from the Dakotas south to Texas. A heat wave in progress with 60s to the north. Look at that. All right? And then for the American model, that's the European model. So here's the European model. The American model, a little cooler out west, but look at that. The heat from North Dakota down to Texas and to the southeast. This is the forecast for Monday afternoon. This heat wave is right on schedule, which we'll talk about in Tuesday's report. Rainfall-wise, sort of rotating around that anticyclone. Fairly dry over Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas. Some monsoon moisture coming up across the Mexico higher territories or higher mountains, and that moisture gets into Arizona, curves over Colorado, and around the anticyclone. So a few thunderstorms in Colorado. Good news. We really need that. This is just being caused by the anticyclone and the flow around it. The LRC is a centerpiece of the big atmospheric jigsaw, something we will be talking about a lot in the next few months. El Nino has grown and strengthened already. Last fall we were in La Nina. Now we're in developing El Nino. What does that mean? More on that later, but remember, the most important piece of the jigsaw is the LRC. If you're interested, you can get our long-range model, our model that's available, and you can get a forecast down to your county or farm all the way through the next year ahead, and it's going to help you with your business decisions. Just contact us at hello@weather2020.com or go to weather2020.com for more. So there's your forecast. I'm meteorologist Gary Lezak with Weather 2020, and thank you for being premium customers, and let me know if you have any questions at all.